All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on. For those who don't know me, my name's Michael Chato. I'm the Executive Director of the New Israel Fund, and I'm calling in today from the Gadigal lands of the Eora Nation. I'd like to begin by paying my respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Before we get into this conversation, I want to acknowledge that this is an incredibly difficult moment for us in the Jewish community and for all of us who care about peace and justice and human rights for all in the region. Since October 7th, NIF's been focused on our core mission, which is fundraising in the diaspora communities to support human and civil rights in Israel-Palestine. We've been responding by fundraising to communities affected by this horrific and senseless violence. And to that end, we've sent emergency grants to doctors, community organizers, and humanitarian workers working to distribute aid to those in need and to de-escalate tensions at one of the most difficult times for those living in Israel-Palestine. If you'd like to donate, you can do so at our website, and we really appreciate the support at this critical moment for those living there and recovering from this horrific and senseless violence. We've also been focused on creating community in response to everything as people look to make sense of what's going on right now, and we're thrilled to be able to partner with the Bund for this important event to do exactly that. If you'd like to find out more about our upcoming events, please like and follow us on social media and head to nif.org.au/processing_23, where you can get rolling updates about all the events we're collaborating on, and including our upcoming events at the Jewish International Film Festival on November 27th. So thanks again for being on. It's really great to see you, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this conversation. I won't take up too much more of your time, just a couple of house Zoom rules. So a reminder to please stay on mute where possible, be on camera where possible, and message us your questions because we'll be collecting them throughout the chat. And once we're finished with the moderated Q&A, we'll be moving to the audience Q&A, and we're really looking forward to hearing your questions and to hearing from our wonderful panelists. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Josh Ozowicki, who will be moderating this evening's conversation. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks so much, Michael. And I'm coming at you from Bunurong land, south of the Yarra River in Melbourne. So first of all, just a quick introduction on the Jewish Labour Bund, founded in 1897 in Vilna as a democratic socialist labour union representing Jewish workers in Eastern Europe, compared to the first Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland in the same year, which had almost 300 delegates and a grand opening gala ball. The Bund's first meeting was illegal, held in secret in an attic and attended by just 13 people. And over the first half of the 20th century, that contrast really carried throughout the Bund's work and its proposed answers to anti-Semitism and the Jewish question, focusing on the urgent material interests of Jewish workers and communities in the here and now, rather than what seemed a far-off vision of a Jewish state and what seemed even then likely to be an inevitable, never-ending conflict with the people who were on that land. And so without the Gunzer historical Megillah, it's safe to say that after the Second World War, the Bund in Melbourne made itself busy working for the local community, trying to advance its program of Freiheit, Gleichheit und Gerechtigkeit, freedom, justice and equality, and its principles of Vaterschaft, Deutschkeit and Yiddishkeit, fraternity, activism in the here and now, and Jewish identity. But that since 1948, there's been a continuing debate within the organisation about how that program and those principles deal with the existence of Israel, both as a large Jewish community as well as a Jewish state. And we're not going to resolve that debate tonight, I'm sorry. Originally, the Bund was going to be holding its annual Bonavina lecture tonight, to have been delivered by Bonavina's good friend Barry Jones. Bono was a leader of the Bund in Melbourne with a hand in virtually everything the Bund did within the Jewish and broader community here. His life story in many respects is the 20th century of Eastern European Jews and of Jews in Melbourne. And I just wanted to share something with you briefly. Sorry, one moment. And here we go. So I hope you can see Bonavina there, born in 1920 and died in 1995. There's a QR code there if you'd like to look up the Jewish Labour Bund archive net. His whole biography is there. A couple of quotes from his business partner and famous Melbourne Zionist Izzy Liebler. He writes, as a Bundist, Bono would be bemused when I would remind him that in practical terms, he was more committed to Israel than many of those who describe themselves as Zionists. His wife, Chava Rosenfarb, pictured here with Bono in Warsaw in front of the the ghetto fighters memorial. The state of Israel occupied a special place in Bonner's heart. He was attached to it with the same spontaneous devotion that he felt for everyone and everything dear to him. During the Six-Day War, he was one of the first volunteers to get into the country, where he tried to join the army, but was told that he was too old. He read with great interest about everything that went on there. And there's a website for Chava, who herself was a famous Yiddish artist. And now from Arnold. Bono was a true man of the people, a Volksmensch, a big-hearted man striding purposefully through life with immense courage, a restless, generous, energetic humanist, always passionately engaged with the world, a devoted servant of his community in so many ways. The world could do with a few more Bonavinas. He was a man of courage, compassion, and good humour. So, on that note, I will exit that screen and just give a few introductory comments on tonight. So I'm an infectious diseases doctor. I experienced the explosion of armchair epidemiology, infectious diseases, and vaccine expertise from the armchair through the pandemic. I have plenty of thoughts on tonight's topic, but that I'll happily share with you if you come to my house and I'm sitting in my armchair. But that's not my role tonight. I'd like to be the host of a dinner party with our guests in Israel. And I hope that they do most of the talking. If you logged on desperately wanting to yell at NIF, the Bund, Michael, or me, please do your stunt while I'm doing this introduction rather than while our guests are speaking. For everyone else, our hope is that people can listen tonight with radical generosity, accepting that nothing anyone says tonight will kill anyone or save anyone, even when we will be talking about life and death. It's very hard, I know, but try to turn down your outrage radar and listen to what is being said rather than looking for a reason to be offended. So there's no Palestinian speaker. Almost immediately when we posted the advertisement for this meeting, that was a comment that we received. Look, we know that, and there's always been some tension for groups holding a Jewish identity and an international universalist humanist outlook. The Bund itself was famously criticised by the Bolsheviks on these grounds, with Georgy Plekhanov deriding the Bund 120 years ago as seasick Zionists. NIF will have been called worse, I'm sure, in Israel and in Melbourne. Tonight is a meeting presented by two Jewish groups in discussion with some like-minded Jewish people in Israel. Michael tells me the NIF is very happy to defend its record of working with Palestinians. And the Bund stridently believes the secure and prosperous Jewish future here, there, everywhere is inextricably linked to the security and prosperity of all people here, there, and everywhere. And so there'll be events with Palestinian speakers, but not every event needs to be everything. And it's okay for Jewish organizations to hold Jewish events. So two final points. This isn't the TV show Q&A tonight. We're not going to present a balance that spans the entire spectrum of opinion here or in Israel. The balance will, I think, likely be left to lefter, and we don't apologize for that. And finally, I'm going to spare the speakers from the mandatory requirement to discuss at length what Hamas and others did on October 7th. The starting point for our conversation tonight is that what happened then was an atrocity by every measure and in whatever context. Civilians, Jewish and not Jewish, were hunted like animals, killed, raped, tortured, kidnapped. And that painful truth is neither the starting point nor the conclusion for our discussion tonight. It's not an argument in one direction or another. It's a horrible fact. And just as it's a horrible fact that thousands of Palestinians have been killed since October 7th. And I wish neither fact were true. So, I'd like to introduce our panel just very briefly. We have Eran Torbiner, a filmmaker in Israel, Itai Flesher, known to very many Australians on this call, I'm sure, an educator and journalist, and now author with a new book out that I hope he plugs during this event, and Brit Jacobi, who's the NIF grants officer in Israel. And now I'm not going to do any more introductions. I'm going to welcome Eran and Itai and Brit, and perhaps beginning with Brit, if you could, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're sitting at the moment, what you were doing in the first 9 months of this year before October, and please tell us one thing you enjoy doing that has absolutely nothing to do with Israel-Palestinian Arab conflict. Welcome, Brit.
Hi. Thank you for hosting. It's really hard to think about something that I enjoy doing right now. Like really, it's really hard to think about it. but I'm speaking from Jaffa. I'm like originally from Jerusalem, but right now I'm from Jaffa. In the last 5 years, I was the director of religious freedom and gender at Shatil, the New Israel Fund. So in my day life, I'm working with public transportation during Shabbat, or civil marriage and divorce, like liberal issues. In the last half of years, we really we work and demonstrating. We demonstrate for our democratic country, for our liberal country. I feel like in the last months everything changed, so it seems like it's. And now I'm leading all the humanitarian work in NIF during the war. So maybe I'll speak about it later. I can just say in the summer I've been in Boston in some program with Palestinian. It was the first time for me as a religious Mizrahi Jew who grew up in Israel, meeting Palestinian from West Bank and Gaza. My best friend in this program was a girl from Gaza. So everything seems like a dream right now. So this was my summer.
Okay. Welcome, Brit. Brit, you have a t-shirt on, I think, with a message. Did you want to highlight that?
I'll speak about it.
Okay.
This is about it's hard to show, but there is no greater mitzvah than Pidyon Shvuim, redumping captives, and it's a sentence from the Rambam. I'm also one of the leaders of the Faithful Left. It's organization that work with NIF, that bring religious Haredi, Masorti people that against this government and want to bring more peace, equality and justice into the religious community. So we're really involved in this demonstration for bring the hostages home. So this is the shirt.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. It's wonderful to have you here. I hope our guests, I hope Itai, Eran, and Brit, as things go on, feel free to ask each other questions as well. Hopefully we don't agree on everything tonight. Okay, so Itai, perhaps if you tell us a little bit about where you're at, what you're doing, what you were doing before October.
Yeah, so for the last 6 years, I've been working as the education director of Kids for Peace Jerusalem. It's a youth movement for Israeli and Palestinian children from East and West Jerusalem, and the office is located in Sheikh Jarrah. And for the last 9 months, I was running regular facilitation and dialogue programs for our. I can hear someone talking. I don't know if everyone's muted, but I was running regular facilitation and dialogue programs for our kids, and obviously all of that has stopped since October 7th. Beyond that, I'm also a journalist with +61J. So like everyone else, I was writing about, the judicial overhaul and how we were also disunited, and that's obviously all changed since October 7th. I've also been writing a book for the last year and playing guitar. The last sort of fun thing I did before October 7th was host a Simon and Garfunkel sing-along in my living room.
I certainly had a few people ask me if you were going to bring your guitar tonight.
Not, yeah. Actually, I have been playing guitar since the war. I put my name down in the Jerusalem Hamal to volunteer, and I listed that I play guitar. So for the last 4 Sunday nights, I've been going to a hotel in Jerusalem and playing like sort of classical Israeli music like Arik Einstein and Sarit Hadad and that sort of thing for evacuees from Kiryat Shmone who have been in this hotel for a very long time. So I'm doing it tonight. If anyone in Jerusalem wants to sing for the evacuees from Kiryat Shmone, you're welcome to come Premier Royale, 8 p.m.
And where are you sitting, Itai? Did you tell us?
In Jerusalem, yeah.
Okay, great. Eran, welcome. You're on mute, Eran. Eran, you're still on mute. No problem. Eran, so where are you, and tell me a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's I'm feeling a little bit less alone when I'm with people, because with my political views, I'm in a very little minority in Israel. So it's good to be with you. I was very lucky to meet the last Bundists in Israel. So this is also a very special event for me. I was a close friend of the leaders of the Bund in Israel. Maybe some people in the audience know them: Yitzhak Luden, Yosef Ra, and Michael Weinhappel. It's very important for me to remind their names. They were very important for me, and honestly, they are giving me now energy in my struggle to bring the hostages back, to fight against the war, to stop the war. They are giving me power. I'm living in East Tel Aviv. I'm 52 years old. I'm a father for two, 6 years old and 16 years old. A good friend of mine that he was together with me in the army, Ofer Calderon from Kibbutz Nir Oz, is kidnapped to Gaza with his two children, Sar, 16 years old, and Erez, 12 years old. Most of my family lives in Kfar Aza. Thanks. I'm totally not religious, but it was a miracle. They survived, and they were locked in the safe room, Ahmad. It's okay to say safe room?
Yeah.
For 30 hours until the army released them. Now they are in a kibbutz in central Israel that's called Shfaim, with most of the members of the kibbutz. I'm visiting them every few days. I'm teaching chess, the young kids of the kibbutz. And I'm enjoying myself connecting to your question, what is making me, that's not related to the situation. I'm a matkot player. What is matkot in English? Itai, matkot?
You can't, it doesn't translate. It's like ping pong without a without a
winner.
play
This
ball.
is
Without
like
a winner
tennis
as
or a
well.
ping pong that you are playing with your partner, not
Wooden
against
rackets.
your partner.
Yeah.
And the best is to play it on the beach. I'm doing it almost every second day in Tel Aviv beach, and this is giving me also a little bit of fresh air, if you can say.
Got it.
Okay.
I think there are a lot of people.
And last question. I'm sorry, Brit, you are connected with your friend from Gaza. You heard something about her in the last few weeks? You have any connection with her?
She's not in Gaza, but her family are, right. She's staying in the US.
Okay.
So it's good, but we didn't have the chance to speak in the last week. It's get harder and harder. Maybe I can speak more about it, but it's get harder and harder because we are in complex situation.
Sure.
Yeah. So we start speaking in the beginning, but
yeah. Thank you.
So overnight last night, we saw pictures in Melbourne of a number of rallies in Tel Aviv, and it was almost impossible to tell from our newspapers what was happening. So we saw very large pictures of lots of people. We saw placards that had to do with hostages and ceasefires and the government, and very difficult to know whether or not this was all one rally or lots of different rallies. So I think I wanted to give each of you an opportunity to perhaps tell us, give a bit of clarity on that, but also tell us some things that perhaps people outside of Israel don't know about what's going on. I started this conversation a little bit with Itai a couple of days ago, so I might let you just kick off, Itai.
So yeah, I'll tell you about a few things I've been doing that I'm sure no one knows about. So about a week after October 7th, there's an organization called Sulha, which is a Jewish-Arab dialogue group, and they had a meeting in a house in Baka with about 25 people. It's organized by Melila Eshed Helna, which I think some of you may know. She's been to Australia to teach Jewish mysticism before, and Iyad Abu Shama. And we came together for about 2 hours, and we just cried. We just played music, We sang, we read some poetry, and we cried. And it was really important for us to do that together as people. Many of us were involved in various peace building organizations as well, because you know, there's such a strong urge now to only show empathy for your own side. And I remember we started this circle, everyone could say a name of someone that was either injured or killed that we wanted the rest of the circle to pray for. And we heard, you know, Jewish names, Christian names, Muslim names, and just the act of, you know, hearing all those names being said in the circle and all the emotion that came with us was, for me, such a like powerful act of, that's what I wanted to do, and that's how I wanted to feel at that time. And since then, there's been another organization in Jerusalem called Sabil. It's a Christian Palestinian organization, and they've organized, like, again, a Jewish Arab vigil for peace that was outside the old city last week. And I'm really trying to go to these things because you know, I'm thinking of what I saw on Friday night in Melbourne. Obviously on Instagram, I saw a lot of my friends sharing Princess Park and, you know, people screaming at each other on either side of Hawthorne Road. And I also know that there were Jews on both sides. There was Jews on the Palestinian side, there were Jews on the Israeli side. But I keep thinking, you know, Israel-Palestine is not a football match. It's not this thing of like, there's two teams and you have to pick a team and you just have to support one team and hope that your team, you know, destroys the other team so that you can live your dreams. Because when this war is over, there's going to be 7 million Jews here and 7 million Arabs here living between the river and the sea. And I constantly think about, what can I do to make sure that whenever this war finishes, that we can still find a way to share this land. And for me, my side is not just Israelis and Jews. Obviously, I feel very connected to Israeli and Jews, but my side is also Suma and Lanram and the people that I work with in Kids for Peace, and now also the New Israel Fund. And the people who are not on my side are also, there's some Jews that are the Jews who are now, you know, displacing people from their homes in the West Bank or trying to attack people in Masafa Yatta. They're not on my side. Hamas is also not on my side. The people on my side are Israelis and Palestinians who want to share this land, and the people who are not on my side are the people that don't want that to happen. And that's what I've been trying to hold space for the last month.
Okay. Britt, any thoughts? What any kind of messages to the rest of the world about, you know, stuff we might not recognize is happening?
I don't think it's didn't like known, but my feeling that it was everything that happened during the 7th and that everything that happened after. And in one hand, we see an amazing solidarity of the Israeli society, like really from all over. And we see huge failure of our government of taking care of us. There's no government. We feel there are no government. I can just tell you, like I told you, I'm like in my usual life, I'm working in the area of religious freedom, and now I'm actually helping people, survivors to get a hotel. Like 2 days after everything happened, the New Israel Fund actually paid to hotel to host the refugees from the south, before the government even like just understand the situation. Even with the hostages, like everything is really good people and philanthropy. We feel that we don't have any government that taking care of us, and it's feel like double failure. I'm sorry that I'm speaking like so clear. This is our feeling. I can tell you just a story. If you know that NIF it's not a great friend of the government in the usual life. A week after the war start, I get a phone call from the Ministry of Welfare, and someone that work over there, and he's crying and told me we have 70 people in Eilat that they end the time in the hotel and they don't want to come back to Ofakim. They don't have a safe place over there. Can you please help me? And I told him, you know, we are the New Israel Fund. And he said, yes, we need any help. So we just pass the money directly to the hotels, which as philanthropic foundation, we didn't do, like, never, we didn't do something like that. We work directly with the mayor of Sderot, the mayor of Ashkelon, which in different times we can't imagine. So this is like make me feel like there hope, amazing solidarity in the Israeli society, but like I don't trust the government. I don't trust. There are 239 people kidnapped in Gaza, young women, soldiers and not soldiers. I don't trust anyone, like, really.
And Brit, was that a message last night on the streets?
Yeah, it was huge. Right now, I believe next week it's going to be the million, but there a huge forum, the hostages families forum. I'm proud to say that the New Israel Fund got one of the biggest donation in their all history to this forum. The forum helps directly to families with humanitarian needs, but also try to promote this issue around the world. But it's also part of the failure that you need such a forum and the government didn't take care. It's past 2 weeks until Netanyahu met one of the hostages' families, 2 weeks from the beginning of the war. Until now, he met them only twice.
Yeah, I think everyone listening can hear in your voice, you know, the frustration and pain. And Eran,
sorry,
that's not. Brit, don't apologize, please, Brit. You know, it's real. It's how you feel. Eran, tell me what was happening last night. Tell me how about those.
I was there. I was there last night, and I was there yesterday and the day before yesterday. I'm going every evening, morning. I'm going as much as I can to these demos. But just a second. Thank you very much, Brit and Itai, for your words and deeds. This is really so important. Unfortunately, until 2 weeks ago, there were very, very few people in Israel that call for prisoner exchange. We were, I think, less than 200 in the streets in front of the Ministry of Defense in central Tel Aviv or in the Tel Aviv Museum. And even yesterday, yesterday and last Saturday, there were a huge demos, but still then, the majority of the people that came to the demos call for to bring back the hostages, and of course all the people in Israel want to bring back the hostages, but we have to come with a clear message that without a prisoner exchange it will not happen. It's and the only prisoner exchange that is possible is all for all. And Netanyahu and his government, they don't think that their supporters are ready for this deal. They want so-called to destroy Gaza, to destroy the Hamas, and this is not going together. So they are not saying, and Hamas and Egypt and Qatar and people from France that are involved, they were saying that the Palestinians, the leadership of the Palestinians are willing for an exchange, but Netanyahu is the one that is stopping it. And this is craziness. This is craziness. Israel betrayed the people around Gaza twice. The first time they abandoned them on the 7th of October, there wasn't army there. There were 2 battalions of the Israeli army around Gaza and 22 battalions in the occupied territories, in Hawara, in Hebron, in all over. This is a disgrace. I don't know other words. I'm ashamed about it as an Israeli. And now they are betraying the families and the hostages again, when they are not willing to do a prisoner exchange. This is the only way to bring them back. All the other words are empty words, are just empty words, nothing more than this.
Thanks, Aaron. Itai or Britt, do you have any reflections on that? Either of you? Okay. All right. No, so perhaps a little bit more. So for everyone who is old enough to remember September 11th, you'll remember that George W. Bush had almost like 90+% popularity immediately after that. And the early invasion of Afghanistan was extraordinarily popular in the US. How do we explain the fact that that Netanyahu's popularity is the reverse? It's rock bottom rather than sky high, even amongst people who'd supported his coalition. What does that mean? Is that something that you see on the street at the moment? Britt, perhaps, or Eran, if you'd like to start.
Just very short. This is something in the Israeli DNA, that while there is a war, everybody is in silent. Nobody is speaking against the war. They are not there. They are saying, we will fight against the war after the war. These crazy words. So nobody there to replace Netanyahu and all of his ministers, even that they are involved. They are in charge. They are the people that they are in charge on the situation. And now they are the people that they are in charge on the war. This is absolutely craziness. Britt, Itai.
I feel day after the war we need to take care on it, but right now, like, some of us fighting, some of us like still like crying of their beloved one. Now I feel like the main goal is bring back all the hostages and trying to see how we create a future day after. And this future will be without Netanyahu, but actually, like, which future
Look,
which future which we can imagine in this country. So
I mean, like Britt and Eran, I also hope to see the end of Netanyahu very soon. And look, it could be that the next election that Israel has, there'll be no Netanyahu and no Hamas. And Israel's never had an election in my lifetime with no Netanyahu and no Hamas. They've been the two forces that I guess have animated so much of how people have voted in this country. And so to try and imagine what does Israeli politics look like that has so been about this one person for so long, and hopefully what does it look like with a defeated Hamas and hostages free and some sort of new horizon. It's very, very hard to predict the future. But like what Britt said, I didn't go to the protest last night in Jerusalem, not because I don't support it, but just I'm not there yet. Like I'm still sad. I'm still, in mourning, and I still feel like I need to cry about what's happening in Gaza, and I hear stories all the time from families, and I'm a journalist. I interviewed Rami and Bassam last week, two bereaved parents, and I don't know, I'm not in a place to scream in the streets as much as, again, I'm fully behind the aims of the protest, but it's, I think October 7th brought back so many Holocaust memories for so many Jews, and for Palestinians, it brings back so many Nakba memories, seeing such a huge displacement of people and just the horror stories that come out of Khan Yunis every day. And so I'm just sitting in that pain at the moment.
Britt, did you have anything to add?
I'm feeling
there?
that I'm not able to sit in pain because there are people that they are sitting in under the ground in Gaza, because 1,400 Israelis died, because 10,000 Palestinians died, between them 4,000 children. And in that time, Ben Gvir, everybody knows in Australia who is Ben Gvir. In these times, in the last few weeks, he armed maybe thousands of people, Brit, Itai, he giving weapons.
Yeah.
He have a plan. It's a very, very dramatic
I can
time.
say, I'll just say on Eran's point, when I walk the streets of Jerusalem now, I'm amazed about how many guns I see. There's just, you always used to see guns in Jerusalem, but citizens just in a bakery, in a milk bar, I think it's like 1 in 4 people seem to be carrying a gun in Jerusalem. And the other thing is, I'm not seeing Arabs walking around Jerusalem anymore. It's like everyone is at home. Everyone is I speak to the Kids for Peace kids as well. All their parents are driving them to and from school because they're worried they could be speaking Arabic on the light rail and Rehov Yafo and Machane Yehuda, any place like that, and someone could attack them. So yeah, that fear of that is causing a lot of people to stay home is something that I feel very strongly here in Jerusalem.
חברות, we are in a very dramatic moment in Israel. I was arrested on Thursday for 7 hours, and maybe you see it, because I tried to go to a demo in Jaffa for the freedom of speech. On Thursday noon, the leadership of the Arab follow-up committee in Israel, the leaders were arrested. So few friends in Tel Aviv, Yafo area tried to hold a demo in front of the police in Jaffa with the call for the freedom of speech and to stop the persecution of the Arab population in Israel. And in 1 second, the commander of the police said, everybody, that this demo is not legal, and everybody have to go apart. And everybody that took pictures was arrested. I was arrested because I held my mobile in my hand. And then I was thrown on the floor, and they broke my head all the way to the cell inside the police station. It's even the police in Israel become a kind of not all of them, of course, not all of them, but many of them are. This is the spirit now. This is the zeitgeist. This is a Ben Gvir spirit. They fired the previous commander that was Ami Eshed, that was a good policeman, a reasonable policeman that care about the law. And now we have the situation is very, very dramatic all over. The Israeli government is very dangerous to the Israeli people, to the Palestinian people, and also to the people in Australia and all over. Before the meeting started, you told me about what happened yesterday in Melbourne, and this is also it's because of the Israeli government. They are endangering all the Jews all over the world. Really, we are in a very, very sad moment. We have to do whatever we can. We are not allowed to be in silent now.
Thanks, Eran. A couple of people in the chat have, I think, begun to get at one of the very difficult questions, which is, I think everyone has been very clear that we want the hostages home. That that parents and children and grandparents need to be where they belong. And at the same time, there is this this anger and righteous anger about what Hamas did, and this desire that the Palestinians have better leadership. Are the two things possible at the same time, getting the hostages home and destroying Hamas?
So
I don't know.
What is the Wait.
So Eran and Britt, all I'm saying is, so we hear, we must destroy Hamas and we must get hostages home. Are those two ideas? Are those two
I
ideas
must tell you,
compatible?
I'm not like the expert from like this topic. Like in usual days, I never like believe I will work in this issue area, but like I don't know what is destroy Hamas. We need to destroy the ability of Hamas, but Hamas's idea is exist if we will destroy Hamas or not destroy Hamas. The idea of like, I don't know, I must tell you as a lefty, when I hear like from the river to the sea, free Palestine from the river to the sea, which in other days I was in the same demonstration with my colleagues, and I'm thinking to myself like, what is free Palestine? Free from Jews? Free from what? Like I don't have another place to go. So right now in this situation, we need to destroy the ability of Hamas, but we need to think about like another leadership and how we strengthen the leaders and that believe in coexistence in two countries. I think this is really the time, although it's so pain, to speak again about like the solution of the two-state solution. Like in Israel, from the left and the right, we didn't speak about it. And which two-state it will be, where, how, I don't know, but I feel like say destroy Hamas is not, it's not enough. The idea of Hamas is all around.
I will try to add to Brit words that I think if people in Gaza and the West Bank, if they will have hope, if they will have a normal life, this is what will maybe not destroy Hamas, but this is what will reduce Hamas. The Palestinian people have to elect yes their government. We are not able to choose who will be their leaders, but I think that what make Hamas so big, this is two things. In one hand, Netanyahu on the second, on the Netanyahu and the occupation, and on the other end, extreme religious. But what we are able to do is to stop the occupation. This is, and to give the Palestinian hope. This is really, I believe, that will reduce Hamas to minimum. And maybe also we need international intervention, because now there is a lot of hostility between the Palestinians and the Jews, and maybe we need a NATO between us. Maybe we need someone that will protect the Palestinians and somebody that will protect the Israelis. Maybe we need international intervention inside between the river and the sea.
I want to preface my answer by admitting something that I got very wrong, because I've been writing about this topic for many years. So I was very much before October 7th in the camp that thought if you give Hamas more work permits and you sort of reduce the pressure on Gaza and you send money from Qatar, that they will turn into a party of government. And I always favored some sort of negotiations because I thought that was where Hamas was heading. And I'm not the only one that thought that, and many people in Israel did. And I was wrong. Like I was very wrong. I very much underestimated who they are and how wicked their ideology is and what they want to do to me and to Brit and to Iran and to all the Israelis on this call. And so I do feel that sadly, and I'm saying this as someone that's very much against war at the moment, there needs to be a military solution to deal with Hamas. But then as soon as they don't have the capability to hurt us anymore, I think straight away there needs to be a political solution. It needs to involve, as Iran said, the end of the occupation. That means I personally favor a confederation. You can look at alandforall.org if you want to understand what that means. But I think beyond that, the solutions that I support are not solutions that will work tomorrow. I don't have any good solution for tomorrow. If you ask about solutions for 20 years, I can give you a lot of great solutions for 20 years. And I think the reason we are now here today is not because of things that happened yesterday. It's things that happened 20 years ago. And if we want to prevent another October 7th in 20 years, then we need to start thinking about how do we educate children? What kind of politics do we have? What kind of society are we trying to build? What do we teach Israelis about their history and about the Nakba? What do we teach Palestinians about why Jews are here and that Jews aren't invaders and colonizers? Like, I think all the solutions I have are solutions that could only work in 20 years from now. But short term, I don't really have answers for that question.
Okay, so I'm getting two different kinds of questions from people. One is about Palestinians, and the other one is about the left, if you like, in Israel and outside. I might start with the Palestinian question, if you like. So the usual question, a common response to any discussion of these topics is, who is there to talk to? That clearly Hamas we can't talk with, and the Palestinian authorities seem useless. So who is interested in talking? Where will things go? Who will we talk to? Who is going to help make that future that you just kind of alluded to, Itai?
So I'll
who would like to start there? Brice, perhaps? Yep, go Itai.
No, I'll just finish the point that, I've been working Kids for Peace for the last 6 years. We've had hundreds of graduates of Israeli and Palestinian kids, and they're all wonderful people to talk to, and they could all make peace here. But all of them are 100 miles away from anything to do with political power because of the various structures we have here. But there are millions of people to talk to. Go to any Standing Together event, go to a Women Wage Peace event, come to any All-MEP meeting, NIF grantees. There's millions of people here to talk to. They're just not in power at the moment. So the question is, how do you get those people, and there are many of them that want to share this land without occupation, without walls, without checkpoints, that understand that there needs to be compromises. They're very painful over Jerusalem, all of those things. All those people exist. I speak to them all the time. And again, it's like think in Australia, about marriage equality. Okay, so marriage equality was supported by like no one 40 years ago. Okay, and then in 2007, you have a referendum, 61% of people support it. Think of climate change. No one cared about climate change 40 years ago. Now it's the second most important political issue in Australia. How do these things happen? Education, schools, grassroots, building, TV programs. I know a lot of people on this Zoom are involved in these campaigns themselves. You know how to make social change on LGBT rights, on climate change, on all those sorts of things. So the same thing needs to happen here in terms of building a peace camp. And it's not a solution for tomorrow. It takes many, many years to do that. And then the other wonderful thing that is great to finding partners for peace is elections. Palestinians haven't had elections for a very long time, and Israeli elections, we have them sadly far too often, but they're all about one person. I think if you allowed Palestinians to have elections in Gaza and the West Bank that were free and fair, you would be amazed at what would come out of those elections if real alternatives existed on the Israeli side, and also what would happen in Israeli elections if real alternatives existed on the Palestinian side. So I think elections are also a great way to generate partners for peace.
Aaron?
I want to bring a few little details to the conversation. I checked before this Zoom. I entered the Gisha. This is one of the organizations that the NIF is helping in Israel. And I checked the average salary that we are earning in Israel and in Gaza and in the West Bank. In Israel, the average salary for 1 month is 12,000 shekel, $4,000. In Gaza, 680 shekel, 680 shekel for a month, $180 for a month. This is the salary in Gaza. The salary in the West Bank is $250 for a month. So we are speaking about 20 times different. This is unacceptable, and this is combined together with the 10,000 people that are killed now in Gaza and the 1,500 that were killed in Israel. This is the way for the next massacre. We have to make more equality between the West Bank and Gaza and to Israel. all the people between the river and the sea deserve a good life. When they will have a decent life, then we will have a future, a normal future, a reasonable future. This is the only solution. And Israel is the strong side, Israel and the world, and we have to show generosity to the Palestinians to help them to build their society. It's not enough, as Netanyahu did, to give money to the Hamas. We have to open the gates. Gaza was under a blockade since 2005, since the התנתקות. How you say התנתקות? Disengagement? No.
Disengagement.
Yeah. If they will have a normal life, we will have a normal life. That's all. These 4 words. This is the solution.
Britt, would you like to say anything? You don't have to.
I don't have a smart thing to say in this.
Sure. So one comment, one question, I think from Joel was, what would you say to an international left who I think views the Palestinian struggle in terms of a national liberation struggle, like Vietnam in the 60s and 70s, and really identifies with Palestinian suffering quite reasonably in terms of what is happening in Gaza, but perhaps doesn't obviously seem to recognise, I think that the quote in the question was the nuance of Jewish Israeli lives and the experience of global Jews at this time. Would anyone like to jump in there?
Yeah, I want to ask everyone on this Zoom, think of someone that is not Jewish that you care about, okay? Whether they're Asian or Sudanese or Eritrean or Christian, think of why you care about them. You probably care about them because you've spoken to them, because you've had a dinner with them, because you've been to their birthday party, because you work together, not because you read some infographic on Instagram. The way people care about each other is through personal relationships. And I can tell you again, from 6 years of peace work, no one's ever changed their mind in a minute. It takes years and years of dialogues and activities, and it's a very long and slow process. And if you want people to think differently from you, then don't wave a flag in their face and then wave a flag in your face and make some nice graphically designed sticker. Like, that's not going to change anyone's mind, and it never has. Maybe it changes politicians' minds, I don't know. But like, if you want to meet people, talk to them. Like, there are many people in the Free Palestine rallies that make me uncomfortable, as I'm sure they make you uncomfortable, but there are also many Muslims that will happily talk to you. I've been speaking to Muslims even from Jerusalem in Australia, people I know from my time working in the Building Bridges program that have been reaching out to me, that I've been reaching out to. I'm sure that I can give connections. I can send names to Rick Benjamin that can connect you with people that if you want to arrange these meetings. But talk to people who are different from you. Put up posts on social media saying, I'm Jewish, I want to invite people to my house for Shabbat, and I want to get to know people. Do a book club of Israeli and Palestinian books that you read together. Watch movies together that have Israeli and Palestinian narrative films. There's heaps of them on Netflix. I'll post a few in the chat in a second. But like, if you want to change people's mind, then engage in personal contact. And it's something that takes one-on-one. And again, it's something that takes years. It's not a short-term solution, but it works, because that's how peace building happens.
Just two sentences, I'm sorry. Just to add, Itai, and we have to know what's happening in the other side. Now, the Israeli media in the last 5 weeks, they are not showing us what's happened in Gaza and in the West Bank. We are able to know what's happening there just through the foreign media. And the other very important detail for all of you to know, that most of the Israelis from Jewish region, they don't know Arabic. And most of the Israelis from Muslim, Christian region, they know Hebrew. We know, they know our language, we don't know their language. We have to know Arabic, and if we don't know Arabic, at least we have to have journalists that will tell us what's happening in the West Bank and the Gaza, and we don't know it.
Britt, anything?
Yeah, I want to give a different perspective. I really believe in peace. I really dedicate to this issue like in my whole life, but I felt like we need to say this situation, Israel have the right to protect herself. Like we have the right to protect ourselves. What's happened in the 7th of October didn't happen only for Jews. It's happened only there are more than 30 asylum seekers in Gaza that kidnapped. There are more than 10 Bedouin. There are hundreds of people, like not Jewish people, that died. This is not only like, it's for sure, it's also we see anti-Semitism like all around the world, but like we need to say also as leftists, we have the right, the ability to protect ourselves, to keep living here, to fight for, as we fight for our liberal and democracy country, we need to fight that we will have a country. And I must say, this is like all the conversation in the universities, and it's nice, but the situation is different. Like I don't have like other place to go. I like my family is from Iran. I won't go I won't come back to Iran, I hope. And we need to stay clear. We're sick for peace. We hope and pray and educate our community to be more peaceful and keep believing the ability to do a peace. But we need to protect ourselves right now, and we need to say it also. And I'm really proud of NAF that know to give a grant to Gisha for working inside Gaza, but also under like work with all the evacuation that from the start with the hostages to keep this balance and said, yes, we're Zionists, we really believe in church society inside Israel, but we have the ability to protect ourselves, and this is so important.
I very much agree with Brit. I'm seconding that. Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll ask two more questions. One was in Australia and the US, seems to be quite a harsh dividing line in many organisations and many families between people either side of the age of 50. People born in 1973 and afterwards, and 1973 and before. Is there a similar generational divide, do you think, in Israel?
I think the difference in Israel is between like the youngest generation, like the Gen Z, that they grew up only to a situation which Netanyahu is they didn't see another option, and they didn't have like even the belief of like what's happened after Rabin murder. So I think this gap of generation, I don't know. I born really like 20 years after 73. So I don't know. Like I don't see a difference between I remember the stories, but I see difference between this generation that passed this. They were teens in the COVID, and right now this is the generation that fight in Gaza, and this is the generation that murder in the Nova party. This is the generation. They're younger than me. This is like last generation, and I hope this generation will grow up to a different country, to a different hope, because this is the generation that see only Netanyahu, but they just went to a nature party, and what happened after, like we all know.
Yeah, I'll say that the Alliance for Middle East Peace did a poll of young people last year, asking their views of. It's both a joint Israeli-Palestinian poll, and they found that young people are much more likely to support armed resistance and have, I guess, more anti-peace views than older people. And it's really weird because, you know, in most countries around the world, the younger you are, generally, the more progressive you are. Whereas in Israel, Palestine, the younger you are, the more likely you are to favor, you know, violent and military solutions to the conflict. And I think that's the nature of our reality of the past 20 years, that people have grown up experiencing things like what Britt mentioned, that the horrors of the Nova Party and Palestinians' years of occupation and siege with no end in sight. And so that generates, a very, not very positive views towards other people, whereas people who are over 50 who remember maybe more peaceful times tend to, you go to a merits function, there's a lot of gray hair there, so like I'm well aware of that. And that's why Kids for Peace works with youth. It's why NIF also has a lot of youth programs, because I think that's a really important demographic to work with if you want to change the future.
Iran,
We
any
are
thoughts?
experiencing many years of dehumanizing the Palestinians. Many Israelis don't know Palestinians at all. They don't hear the word peace. Nobody in Israel speak about peace, shalom, in the last 30 years, since the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. So we have to have a new discourse in Israel, and this is what I will say to the left in the world, that there are two nations in Israel, and they have to speak again about peace, about everybody have to live a decent life. Nobody will go anywhere. I was born in Israel. Hebrew is my mother tongue. I'm not able to imagine myself living in another place. But sometimes I'm feeling it's too late because of Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and Smotrich and the settlers, the religious settlers, and the Hamas, of course. And I'm afraid, and this is a very dramatic moment in my personal life, I'm working on to build an archive to the Israeli left. This is what I'm doing in the last, actually 25 years, and more actively in the last year. I'm trying to show that there were more Jews like the Bundists, that they believe in coexistence, and they believe in just life and peace and equality. And I'm a Bund sympathizer, and I'm not Zionist. I believe that everybody have to have the same rights without any connection if he's a Jew or a Muslim or a Christian. This state have to be the state of all of the people.
Okay, I think the last question, I think, you are all mourning. I think a lot of people are mourning, but I think the three of you have not, are not bringing despair to this conversation. And I think that's, that's very impressive. It's I think despair is a luxury that Israelis and Palestinians can't afford. So although you are all a little bit pessimistic, and I think that everyone understands that. So Eran spoke about he's an archivist of the left, and according to the newspapers in Australia, Jewish and not Jewish newspapers in Australia, the message is that this is the end of the Israeli left, that this proves the Israeli left was always wrong. And I wonder if you can, if on our way out today, you can tell us what you think of that message.
I feel the opposite. I'm feeling that the left wasn't in the leadership of Israel, maybe never, and of course not in the last 25 years. And who brought us to this situation? This is the right wing. So the right wing failed. They totally failed, the biggest failure in the Israeli history. So we have to think again about different solutions, the solutions of just peace and equality. And this is something that the left always spoke about since 1897 in Vilna till today.
Is there an appetite in the community in Israel, do you think, for for a voice to emerge, actually arguing for those things, making that case? And if so, where is it going to come from, do you think, Brit or Itai?
I want to say just something amazing about Brit's organization, the Faithful Left, the Smol Hamoni. They had a conference last year that about 600 people came to, which I was there. And I think that's one of the most important things that happened on the Israeli left last year. And I really hope that organization grows and becomes more powerful, because in addition to Israel becoming more right-wing over the last 20 years, which you all know about, Israel's also become more religious over the last 20 years in a very significant way. And maybe Brit, if you can put the website of Smolai Emuni in the
Yeah, we
chat.
still don't have a website in English, but it's called the Face Left, the Smolai Emuni.
Yeah. And I think for the left to come back into power, not only does it need to speak the language of speech, it needs to speak the language of peace in a Jewish language that doesn't negate and undermine the Jewish values of so many people in this country. Because I think people often, one of the reasons why so many people, middle of the road people have turned away from the left in Israel is that there's a feeling that they are, anti-Jewish or don't want to see Jewish symbols or that sort of thing. And I think what Brit's doing is, and her organization of saying you can be left and celebrate Shabbat and Kashrut and all of those things, I think that's essential for the left to come back into power. And I hope that's a movement that grows over time.
Brit, any final words?
Yeah, so first I put my email so you can write me. We have newsletter in English if you want. But I'll just say, like, I didn't grow up as lefty. I grew up really, really in the right side of the map and religious Mizrahi family. And I believe like things can change. We saw the shift that the Israeli society did from the left to the right in the last year. I believe this situation, I can't say it's an opportunity because like, no dead and no hostages are opportunity. I can't use this word because the situation itself, it's heartbreaking. I really, I don't have words in English, in Hebrew to really like share my feeling right now. But in the day after, we need to build a society that believe that we can do some agreements and we will like live in shared living here in Israel, Jews and Arabs and others. So we will keep fighting for that. We will keep fighting for our country, but we will keep fighting for the Israeli society. We'll be liberal and we'll be like seek for peace and equality inside her and for our safety. So thank you for hearing us in such a difficult times. I really, if you want more details, there are a lot of things to do. Like I know the families, like the Hostages Family Forum, really need the support all over the world. And I know NIF doing a lot of amazing work in Australia. So you can be connected to this forum to keep remind that we don't have any hope without bringing back the 239 people that kidnapped in Gaza.
Okay. Thank you for leaving us with that message, Brit. Eran has a copy of an old Bund magazine called Lebensfragen on the wall behind him, or Life Questions. And I think we've definitely dealt with some big life questions tonight. So on behalf of
fuller side.
Okay. On behalf of the Jewish Labour Bund, we're really proud of being able to present this event and being able to work with NIF on this event. And thank you to Itai, Brit, and Eran for contributing and giving their heart and presenting so beautifully and with such honesty about something that's very painful, but also being generous in imagining a better future that we all hope for. Brit mentioned the hostages, and we all want to see them home. We want to see the children of Gaza have the open future that we want for all our children. And on that note, I might sign off and leave Michael to say a final goodbye to everyone here. It's not a final goodbye; we'll see each other again, but for tonight. So, Michael,
thank you very much. Adank.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Josh.
Thanks.
And I'll just say a huge thanks to everyone for being on. We really appreciate it. And a special thanks to our panelists, Eran, Britt, and Itai. You were fantastic and gave us some light in a period of immense darkness. So thank you, really. And thanks all for being on this Sunday evening. Like I said in the chat, I'll put the conversation on our website, nif.org.au/processing_23. If you didn't catch that, just email me or text me. I'm more than happy to send it around again. And a huge thank you once again. I really appreciate being able to be in community with you all. It's what's keeping me going, and I think it's what's keeping a lot of us going right now. So have a great evening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again soon. Bye-bye.